By 8 p.m. that same evening, I'd be on the phone with my estate attorney, removing both my son Michael and his wife Jennifer from my $4.2 million will and my $1.8 million real estate portfolio, all because they walked out of St. Mary's Hospital and left me alone in the emergency room during what turned out to be a heart attack, claiming they couldn't miss their dinner reservations with Jennifer's boss. Before we dive into this incredible story of family betrayal during my medical emergency and the inheritance changes that would devastate them beyond belief, make sure to hit that like button, drop a comment telling me where you're watching from, and subscribe so you never miss stories like this one. Trust me, you're going to want to see what happens when family members abandon someone during a life-threatening emergency, especially when that someone controls more inheritance money than they ever imagined possible. My name is Eleanor Richardson. I'm 74 years old, and this story begins 8 months ago when I made what I thought was a wise decision to sell my successful real estate development company and move closer to my son Michael and his family in Denver for support during my retirement years. A decision that would teach me the most expensive lesson of my life about the difference between being loved and being seen as a walking inheritance. But to understand how I ended up abandoned in a hospital emergency room during a cardiac event, before becoming the person who would control my family's financial future from beyond the grave, you need to know who I was before I let my maternal hopes override my business instincts about people's true motivations. For 38 years, I was Eleanor Richardson, founder and CEO of Richardson Properties and Development, one of Colorado's most successful commercial real estate companies. I didn't just buy and sell properties, I transformed entire neighborhoods, developed mixed-use communities, and built the kind of commercial spaces that revitalized downtown areas across 3 states. My specialty was seeing potential where others saw problems, and turning abandoned lots into thriving communities that generated wealth for investors while improving life for residents. I started with nothing but a business degree from Colorado, State University, and a $25,000 inheritance from my grandmother when my husband James died of cancer at age 45, leaving me with a 12-year-old son Michael and an absolute determination to never be financially dependent on anyone again. That inheritance seemed like a fortune at the time, but it would prove to be just the seed money for building an empire that would eventually be worth over $8 million. My first major project was converting an abandoned warehouse in downtown Denver into luxury lofts. A risky venture in 1987 when downtown living wasn't popular yet, and most people thought I was crazy for investing in what they called the sketchy part of town. But I saw the potential for urban renewal and convinced 3 investors to back my vision with a presentation that showed them exactly how gentrification patterns worked and why this area was positioned for explosive growth. The warehouse was a beautiful 1920s brick building that had been sitting empty for 6 years, accumulating graffiti and squatters while the city tried to figure out what to do with it. I bought it for $180,000, a price that seemed outrageous to everyone except me, because I understood that location and bone structure were everything in real estate development. The renovation took 8 months and cost $450,000, transforming the 15,000-square-foot space into 12 luxury loft apartments with exposed brick walls, original hardwood floors, floor-to-ceiling windows, and modern amenities that urban professionals were starting to crave. Each unit featured 200 square feet of open living space, updated kitchens with granite countertops, spa-style bathrooms, and parking spaces that were rare in downtown Denver. The project sold out before construction was complete, with units selling for an average of $165,000 each, generating nearly $2 million in total sales from my initial $630,000 investment. After paying back my investors and covering all costs, I walked away with $847,000 in profit, and a reputation as the developer who could see opportunity where others saw only problems. That first success generated enough capital to fund my next 3 projects simultaneously: a small office building conversion, a row of historic townhouses that needed complete restoration, and a mixed-use development that combined retail space with residential units. Each project built on the lessons learned from the previous one, and each one generated larger profits that I immediately reinvested in bigger and more ambitious developments. What began as a single renovation project became a specialty in urban redevelopment when other investors started seeking my expertise in transforming undervalued properties into thriving communities. Word spread through real estate circles about the developer who understood both the financial aspects of property investment and the community planning needed for long-term success. My approach was different from other developers who focused purely on maximum profit extraction. I understood that sustainable development required creating spaces that people actually wanted to live and work in, which meant investing in quality construction, thoughtful design, and community amenities that would maintain property values over time. By 1995, I had completed over 20 development projects and established Richardson Properties and Development as a full-service company that handled everything from initial property acquisition through final sales and management. My team included architects, contractors, property managers, and marketing specialists who shared my vision for creating communities rather than just buildings. The project that really established my reputation was the Riverside Commons development in 1998, a 40-acre mixed-use community that transformed a former industrial site into a thriving neighborhood with residential units, retail spaces, offices, and green areas. The site had been a defunct manufacturing plant that left behind contaminated soil, abandoned buildings, and a community reputation as an environmental hazard. Most developers avoided contaminated sites because of the cleanup costs and regulatory complications, but I saw an opportunity to create something transformative while solving a community problem. I spent 2 years navigating environmental regulations, securing cleanup funding through city partnerships, and developing a master plan that would turn the liability into an asset. The environmental remediation alone cost $2.3 million, but it allowed me to purchase 40 acres of prime real estate for $800,000, a fraction of what clean land would have cost in the same area. The cleanup process actually improved the soil quality beyond its original condition and created underground infrastructure that supported the entire development. The Riverside Commons master plan included 150 residential units ranging from affordable apartments to luxury townhouses, 25,000 square feet of retail space anchored by a grocery store and coffee shop, 50,000 square feet of office space designed for tech companies and professional services, and 8 acres of parks and green space that included walking trails, a playground, and community gardens. The development process took 4 years and required coordinating with city planning departments, environmental agencies, utility companies, and community groups who had strong opinions about what should replace the industrial site. But the result was a $18 million development that won national awards for sustainable development and urban planning innovation, while generating $2 million in profit for my company. More importantly, Riverside Commons became a model for how contaminated industrial sites could be transformed into vibrant communities that served multiple income levels while improving environmental conditions and creating economic opportunities for local residents. My company grew steadily through a combination of strategic acquisitions, innovative developments, and partnerships with municipal planning departments who trusted my ability to balance profitability with community benefit. By the time I was 55, Richardson Properties was managing development projects worth over $200 million across Colorado, Wyoming, and New Mexico. But I wasn't just developing properties for others. I was building my own real estate portfolio through decades of strategic acquisitions, property improvements, and market timing that most people never master. Every successful project generated profits that I reinvested in prime real estate holdings that would provide long-term wealth and security. My investment strategy was based on 3 principles that I had learned through years of market analysis: location diversity to protect against regional economic downturns, property type diversity to balance income generation with appreciation potential, and timing flexibility that allowed me to buy during market lows and sell during peak conditions. By my 60th birthday, I had developed what real estate professionals called the Richardson method. a systematic approach to identifying undervalued properties, analyzing development potential, and executing transformations that maximized both community benefit and investor returns. The Richardson method involved 5 phases: market analysis to identify emerging neighborhoods before they became expensive, property evaluation to assess development potential and cost factors, community engagement to understand local needs and build support for projects, design planning that balanced profitability with livability, and execution management that kept projects on time and budget while maintaining quality standards. My expertise attracted clients from across the Western United States: tech companies seeking headquarters locations that would attract top talent, retail chains needing strategic placement in growing markets, municipal governments planning urban renewal projects that required private sector partnership, and private investors looking for opportunities in emerging markets that hadn't yet been discovered by larger development firms. The tech boom of the early 2000s created enormous opportunities for developers who understood how to create the kind of live work-play environments that young professionals demanded. I designed several mixed-use developments specifically for tech companies that wanted to offer their employees housing, dining, and recreation within walking distance of their offices. My largest tech-focused project was the Innovation District in Fort Collins, a 60-acre development that included corporate headquarters for 3 software companies, 200 residential units designed for young professionals, retail and restaurant space that stayed open late to accommodate tech worker schedules, and recreational amenities, including a fitness center, rock climbing wall, and outdoor event space for company parties and community gatherings. The Innovation District took 6 years to complete and cost $45 million to develop, but it generated $67 million in total sales while creating a blueprint for tech-focused development that other cities began to copy. More importantly, it established Richardson Properties as the go-to developer for companies that wanted to create comprehensive live work environments rather than just office buildings. But I didn't just manage other people's developments. I practiced what I preached, building my own real estate empire through decades of careful acquisitions, strategic improvements, and market analysis that most investors never understand. The foundation of my personal wealth was a comprehensive real estate portfolio that I had been building and optimizing for over 30 years. Every property in my portfolio served multiple purposes, providing either rental income or personal use, appreciating in value over time, and demonstrating my development expertise to potential clients and investors. The centerpiece was my primary residence, a $2.1 million custom-built estate in Boulder that I had designed as both a family home and a showcase of my development capabilities. The 6,500-square-foot house included 6 bedrooms, 4 bathrooms, a 3-car garage, and 2.5 acres of professionally landscaped grounds with mountain views that made clients understand why Colorado real estate was so valuable. The house wasn't just a home. It was a living advertisement for Richardson Properties that demonstrated my attention to detail, quality construction standards, and ability to create luxury living spaces that appreciated in value over time. The property featured sustainable materials, energy-efficient systems, smart home technology, and architectural details that had been featured in Colorado Homes magazine and several national publications about sustainable luxury living. The master suite alone was 800 square feet and included a sitting area with fireplace, walk-in closets with custom organization systems, and a spa-style bathroom with a soaking tub that overlooked the mountain views. The kitchen featured professional-grade appliances, custom cabinetry, and a large island that could accommodate catering for business entertaining. The entertaining spaces included a formal dining room that could seat 12, a family room with floor-to-ceiling windows, a home office with built-in bookcases, and a finished basement with a bar, wine cellar, and media room that I used for client presentations and family gatherings. The outdoor spaces were equally impressive, with a deck that overlooked the mountains, a fire pit area for evening entertaining, a vegetable garden that supplied fresh, produce and mature trees that provided privacy and beauty while requiring minimal maintenance. My second major property was a $950,000 downtown Denver penthouse that I had originally developed as a model unit for luxury urban living. The 3,000-square-foot space included floor-to-ceiling windows with city and mountain views, a private rooftop terrace with outdoor kitchen, and high-end finishes that made it both a personal retreat and a valuable rental property. The penthouse featured an open floor plan that maximized the city views, a gourmet kitchen with professional appliances, 2 bedrooms including a master suite with walk-in closet and luxury bathroom, and a den that could serve as a home office or third bedroom, depending on the resident's needs. The building itself was one of my early urban development projects, and owning the penthouse allowed me to monitor the property management and maintenance standards while enjoying the convenience of downtown living when I wanted a change from the Boulder estate. The penthouse generated $4,500 monthly in rental income when I wasn't using it personally, providing steady cash flow while appreciating in value as downtown Denver continued to grow and gentrify. The rental income alone covered the property taxes and maintenance costs while generating profit that I reinvested in other properties. My third significant holding was a $680,000 mountain cabin in Aspen, a 4-bedroom retreat on 1.5 acres that had served as both a family vacation home and a strategic investment in Colorado's resort real estate market. The property included a private hot tub, stone fireplace, and panoramic mountain views that made it highly desirable for vacation rentals when I wasn't using it personally. The Aspen cabin represented my entry into the luxury vacation rental market, which had become increasingly profitable as wealthy professionals sought high-end mountain retreats for weekend getaways and extended vacations. The property was fully furnished with luxury amenities and generated $8,000 monthly during peak season, while appreciating at rates that exceeded most stock market investments. Beyond these primary residences, I owned a portfolio of investment properties across Colorado that provided steady income while requiring minimal active management. The portfolio included a 12-unit apartment building in Fort Collins that generated $8,000 monthly in rental income, 3 single-family rental homes in emerging neighborhoods that provided both cash flow and appreciation potential, and 2 commercial properties that housed small businesses under long-term leases. The apartment building was particularly valuable because it was located near Colorado State University and maintained 98% occupancy with students and young professionals who appreciated the updated units and professional management. The building had been one of my early investment purchases, bought for $485,000 and improved with $120,000 in renovations that allowed me to increase rents while maintaining high occupancy. The single-family rental homes were strategically located in neighborhoods that I had identified as emerging areas before they became popular with other investors. Each home generated between $1,800 and $2,400 monthly in rent, while requiring minimal maintenance due to the quality improvements I had made after purchase. The commercial properties included a small office building that housed a law firm, accounting, practice and marketing consultancy under 5-year leases that provided stable income with built-in rent increases. The second commercial property was a retail space that housed a successful restaurant whose owner had signed a 10-year lease with percentage rent that increased my income as their business grew. The total value of my real estate portfolio was approximately $4.8 million, with most properties owned outright and generating over $15,000 monthly in passive income without requiring active management. The portfolio provided both steady cash flow and long-term appreciation while demonstrating the effectiveness of my investment strategies to potential clients. But real estate was just one component of my wealth. When I sold Richardson Properties and Development in 2023, the sale generated a $3.2 million cash windfall that was conservatively invested in a diversified portfolio designed to provide steady income while preserving principal for estate planning purposes. My investment portfolio was managed by a team of financial advisors who understood my preference for conservative, income-generating investments that would provide steady returns without requiring active management. The portfolio was diversified across municipal bonds that provided tax-free income, blue-chip dividend stocks from companies with long histories of consistent payments, balanced mutual funds that provided exposure to growth markets while limiting risk, and a small allocation to real estate investment trusts that complemented my direct property holdings. The investment portfolio was designed to generate approximately $12,000 monthly in passive income while maintaining enough liquidity to take advantage of new real estate opportunities or handle unexpected expenses without touching the principal balance. The combination of real estate income and investment returns provided over $27,000 monthly in total passive income that supported a comfortable lifestyle while allowing the principal to continue growing. Most importantly, my business success had taught me to structure my wealth in ways that provided maximum control and flexibility. I understood property ownership, estate planning, inheritance law, and wealth transfer strategies that most people never learn because they don't have enough assets to make these considerations important. I knew how to use trusts, wills, and beneficiary designations to control asset distribution after death, while minimizing tax consequences for heirs. I understood the legal requirements for modifying wills and the documentation needed to ensure my wishes would be legally enforceable regardless of family disputes or challenges. I was familiar with tax optimization strategies that could minimize estate taxes while maximizing benefits for chosen beneficiaries. And I understood how to structure charitable giving that would provide tax advantages during my lifetime while supporting causes I cared about after death. I knew how to structure estate planning to avoid probate, protect assets from creditors, and provide clear inheritance instructions that couldn't be challenged or misinterpreted by family members who might feel entitled to assets they hadn't earned through genuine care and support. Most crucially, I understood that inheritance is a privilege that must be earned through genuine care and respect, not an entitlement that family members can assume or demand based on blood relationships alone. My wealth represented decades of hard work, strategic thinking, and calculated risks that had paid off through discipline and expertise. What Michael and Jennifer would eventually discover was that a woman who had spent 38 years building and protecting wealth wasn't someone whose inheritance decisions could be taken for granted, especially when family members proved they couldn't be trusted to provide basic care and support during medical emergencies. My approach to family relationships had always been generous but not stupid. I was happy to help family members who demonstrated genuine care and appreciation, but I had no tolerance for people who viewed my wealth as their entitlement, rather than understanding that financial support was earned through relationship quality and character demonstration. The business world had taught me to evaluate people based on their actions rather than their words, and to make financial decisions based on demonstrated reliability rather than promised future behavior. These lessons would prove invaluable when my family's true priorities were revealed during my medical emergency. But before that revelation, I would spend 8 months learning the hard way that Michael and Jennifer viewed my retirement and relocation to Denver as an opportunity to position themselves for maximum inheritance benefits, rather than understanding that I was seeking genuine family connection and support during my later years. The stage was being set for a confrontation that would ultimately reveal their true character and lead to estate planning changes that would shock them more than they could possibly imagine. Michael had always been what teachers diplomatically called intelligent but self-centered. As a child, he was academically capable and socially charming, but struggled with empathy and follow-through on responsibilities that didn't directly benefit him. Looking back now, I can see the warning signs that I chose to interpret as normal. Childhood development rather than recognizing them as indicators of fundamental character issues that would never truly change. In elementary school, he excelled at subjects that came easily and earned him recognition: math competitions, science, projects, reading contests, but would consistently avoid activities that required patience, practice, or helping others succeed. He was the kid who could solve complex problems in minutes, but wouldn't spend 5 minutes helping a classmate who was struggling with basic concepts. His teachers often noted that Michael had excellent potential, but seemed to lack the emotional maturity and caring attitude that would make him a well-rounded person. "Michael is very bright," his third-grade teacher, Mrs. Patterson, wrote in a conference report that I still remember word for word. "But he seems to have difficulty understanding how his actions affect others and rarely volunteers to help when someone needs assistance. He's just focused on his own learning right now," I would tell myself when other parents mentioned that their children found Michael unwilling to share or collaborate. Some children are naturally more independent and will develop social skills as they mature. But the pattern continued and actually intensified as Michael got older. In 4th grade, when the class was assigned group projects, Michael would either dominate the work completely to ensure he got the grade he wanted, or would contribute the bare minimum if he felt the other students weren't smart enough to help him achieve his goals. His 4th grade teacher, Mr. Rodriguez, requested a parent conference specifically to discuss Michael's approach to group work and peer relationships. "Michael is clearly one of the brightest students I've taught," he explained, "but he seems to view other children as obstacles to his success rather than as potential friends or collaborators." "What do you mean exactly?" I asked, feeling defensive, about criticism of my son's academic focus. "Well, yesterday during a group science project, Michael told his teammates that they were too slow and completed the entire assignment himself, rather than teaching them or working together. The other children felt excluded and frustrated, and Michael didn't seem to understand why that was a problem. "He's just very driven," I explained. "He wants to do well, and sometimes that means taking charge of situations. The concerning part isn't his drive," Mr. Rodriguez continued gently. "It's his complete lack of concern for how his actions affect other people. When I explained that group projects are designed to teach collaboration and that excluding his teammates defeated the purpose, Michael's response was that he didn't care about their feelings as long as he got a good grade. That conversation should have been a wake-up call, but instead I chose to interpret Michael's behavior as the natural result of being intellectually gifted in a system that didn't always challenge him appropriately. He'll learn to work with others when he's around people who can keep up with him," I rationalized. This pattern intensified during middle and high school around family responsibilities and community service. Michael would enthusiastically participate in activities that enhanced his resume or provided personal recognition: student government, academic honors, National Honor Society, debate team, but would consistently avoid family obligations, household chores, or volunteer work that required sustained commitment without immediate personal reward. When James was first diagnosed with cancer during Michael's freshman year of high school, I hoped that facing a family crisis would help Michael develop empathy and understand the importance of supporting others during difficult times. Instead, his response revealed how deeply his self-centeredness had become ingrained. "Dad's sick, so we all need to step up and help more around the house," I explained during a family meeting after James's first oncology appointment. "That means everyone taking on additional responsibilities and being more supportive of each other." Michael's immediate response was telling, "How long is this going to last? Because I have some important things coming up this semester that I can't compromise on." "Michael, your father has cancer," I said, shocked by his focus on his own inconvenience. "We don't know how long treatment will take, but family needs to come first right now." "I understand that," he replied with the kind of careful tone that indicated he was saying what he thought I wanted to hear, rather than expressing genuine concern. "But I also can't let Dad's illness ruin my chances for college scholarships. That wouldn't be good for anyone." James, who was sitting right there listening to this conversation, looked hurt but not surprised by Michael's reaction. "Son, I'm not asking you to sacrifice your education," he said quietly. "I'm just hoping you'll be around more and maybe help your mother with some of the extra work that my treatment is going to create." "Of course I'll help when I can," Michael agreed readily. But I need to make sure my responsibilities don't interfere with my academic priorities. What became clear over the following months was that Michael's definition of helping when I can meant helping only when it was convenient for his schedule and didn't require him to sacrifice anything he actually wanted to do. When James needed someone to drive him to chemotherapy appointments because the medications made him too tired to drive safely, Michael was consistently unavailable due to academic commitments, extracurricular activities, or social plans that he deemed more important than family medical needs. "I have debate practice," he would say when asked to provide transportation to medical appointments. "Coach says missing practice could affect my chances for regional competition, and that's important for my college applications. I have a study group for AP History," he would explain when James needed help with household tasks that had become difficult during treatment. "This test is going to determine my grade for the semester, and I can't afford to fall behind." "I promised Jake I'd help him with his college applications," he would offer when I asked him to spend time with his father, who was feeling isolated and depressed during treatment. "He's depending on me, and I can't let him down." The irony was that Michael was always available to help other people with their problems: friends, classmates, teachers who needed assistance with projects, but never seemed to have time to help his own family during our crisis. He had learned to present himself as helpful and caring to the outside world while reserving his most selfish behavior for the family members who loved him unconditionally. When James's condition worsened during Michael's sophomore year and he needed more intensive care and support, Michael's absence became even more pronounced and deliberate. Instead of recognizing that his father was facing a life-threatening illness that required family unity and support, Michael seemed to view James's cancer as an inconvenient disruption to his personal goals and social life. "Michael, your father, is really struggling right now," I said during one of many conversations where I tried to help him understand the seriousness of the situation. "He needs to know that his family loves him and that we're all committed to supporting him through this." "I do love Dad," Michael replied with what sounded like genuine puzzlement. "But I don't see how me sitting around the house being sad is going to help him get better. I think Dad would want me to keep focusing on my future and my success." "It's not about sitting around being sad," I explained. "It's about being present and available when he needs emotional support or practical help. It's about showing him that he's more important to you than your extracurricular activities." "But Mom, these activities are important for my future," Michael protested. "Dad always told me that education and achievement should be my top priorities. I'm just doing what he taught me." Michael had developed a sophisticated ability to reframe his selfishness as virtue, presenting his unwillingness to sacrifice for family as evidence that he was following family values about education and achievement. He could make his absence during crisis sound like dedication to principles, rather than acknowledging that he simply didn't want to deal with the emotional demands of supporting a dying parent. When James died during Michael's junior year, his response was notably detached and practical rather than emotional or supportive. "While I was devastated by the loss of my husband and struggling to manage my grief while maintaining the business and supporting Michael through his remaining high school years, Michael seemed primarily concerned about how his father's death might affect his college application timeline and scholarship opportunities. I know this is a difficult time for everyone," he said during the funeral planning process, "but I need to make sure that Dad's death doesn't negatively impact my college applications. I've been working toward early admission deadlines, and I can't afford to fall behind now." "Michael, your father just died," I said, hardly able to believe we were having this conversation. "College applications can wait a few weeks while we handle funeral arrangements and family responsibilities." "But Mom, early admission deadlines are non-negotiable," he replied with the kind of logical tone that made his selfishness sound reasonable. "Dad would want me to stay focused on my goals. The best way to honor his memory is to achieve the success he always wanted for me." James had indeed wanted Michael to be successful and had emphasized the importance of education throughout his life. But he had also emphasized the importance of family loyalty, character development, and supporting others during difficult times. Michael was selectively remembering only the lessons that justified his own priorities while ignoring the values. That would have required him to sacrifice his convenience for family needs. During the weeks following James's funeral, when I was struggling with grief and the practical challenges of running the business alone while supporting a teenage son, Michael's primary concern was ensuring that his college application essays properly leveraged his father's death for maximum emotional impact with admissions committees. "I'm writing my main essay about how Dad's cancer taught me about perseverance and overcoming challenges," he announced one evening, while I was going through James's business papers and trying to understand the full scope of what I had inherited. "What did you learn about perseverance?" I asked, genuinely curious, since Michael had seemed to avoid most of the challenges that James's cancer had created for our family. "Well, watching Dad fight cancer taught me that successful people don't let obstacles stop them from achieving their goals," Michael explained with the confidence of someone who had never actually faced serious obstacles. "And seeing how you managed the business while dealing with Dad's illness showed me the importance of staying focused on your responsibilities, even when personal problems are trying to distract you." The essay was well written and emotionally manipulative, presenting Michael as someone who had learned profound lessons about family loyalty and personal strength through his father's death. But the reality was that Michael had learned to observe other people's struggles without participating in them, and to extract useful narratives from family crises without actually providing support during those crises. I funded Michael's education at the University of Colorado, where he earned a degree in business administration with a focus on finance. The choice of major was strategic rather than passionate. Michael had researched which degrees provided the best return on investment in terms of starting salaries and career advancement opportunities. He was a competent student who graduated with good grades and strong career prospects, but his college years were marked by the same pattern of prioritizing personal interests over family connections and treating relationships as opportunities for advancement rather than sources of mutual support and caring. During his college years, Michael maintained minimal contact with me unless he needed something specific: financial support for expenses that weren't covered by tuition payments, career advice for internship applications, or networking connections through my business. Relationships. Our conversations were pleasant but superficial, focused on his achievements and plans rather than on building deeper emotional connections or expressing genuine interest in my life and well-being. "How are classes going?" I would ask during our monthly phone calls. "Really well," he would reply with enthusiasm. "I'm maintaining a 3.7 GPA, and I've been selected for a competitive internship program that could lead to job opportunities after graduation." "That's wonderful. How are you feeling about Dad's death anniversary coming up?" "Oh, that. I'm doing fine with it. I've learned to focus on the positive lessons rather than dwelling on sadness. Speaking of which, I wanted to ask if you could put me in touch with your friend who works at Wells Fargo. I'm applying for their summer analyst program, and a personal recommendation would really help my application." Michael had developed an impressive ability to redirect conversations away from emotional topics and toward practical matters where I could provide tangible benefits. He never directly refused to discuss feelings or family relationships, but he consistently steered our interactions toward areas where he could gain something useful. After graduation, Michael moved to Denver and built a successful career in pharmaceutical sales, earning approximately $95,000 annually plus bonuses that brought his total compensation to around $125,000 in good years. He was effective at his job and well regarded by clients, but his professional success was built on the same charm and strategic relationship management that characterized his approach to family interactions. Michael's choice to move to Denver after college, rather than staying in Boulder where he could have built a closer relationship with me during my later career years, was presented as a career opportunity rather than as distance-seeking behavior. "Denver has a much more robust pharmaceutical industry," he would explain when I asked about his location choice. This position will provide better advancement opportunities and higher earning potential than anything available in Boulder. But the practical effect was that Michael established a life that was geographically close enough to maintain the appearance of family connection, while being emotionally and practically removed from family obligations and expectations. He visited Boulder occasionally, usually during holidays or special occasions, but maintained minimal regular contact and showed little interest in my daily life or ongoing needs. When Michael met Jennifer at age 29, I was hopeful that marriage might encourage him to develop stronger family connections and greater willingness to provide support during difficult times. Jennifer seemed like she might be a positive influence. She was professional, organized, and appeared to understand the importance of family relationships in ways that Michael had never fully grasped. Jennifer was 27 when they met, had graduated from Denver University with a marketing degree, and had been working at a successful public relations firm for 5 years. She was attractive, well-dressed, and articulate in ways that suggested she came from a family that valued success and presentation. During our early interactions, she seemed genuinely interested in building a relationship with me and understanding our family dynamics. Jennifer came from an upper-middle-class family in Scottsdale, where financial success was prioritized and expected, but where family relationships were also maintained and valued. Her father, Robert, was a successful investment advisor who had built substantial wealth through strategic planning and client relationships. Her mother, Patricia, was a former corporate executive who had focused on family management after having children while maintaining her professional networks and community involvement. Jennifer had grown up understanding that wealth provided opportunities, and that family resources should be carefully managed and protected, but she had also learned that family relationships required investment and attention to maintain their strength over time. Her family took vacations together, celebrated holidays and milestones with elaborate gatherings, and maintained regular contact through phone calls, visits, and shared activities. "Family is everything," Jennifer would say when describing her upbringing. "My parents taught me that professional success means nothing if you don't have people who love you and support you through life's challenges." During their engagement period, Jennifer seemed to have a positive influence on Michael's approach to family relationships. She encouraged him to call me more regularly, remember important dates like my birthday and James's death anniversary, and participate more actively in family gatherings when they visited Boulder. Jennifer would suggest thoughtful gifts for special occasions and help Michael write more personal letters and cards for birthdays and holidays. She also made an effort to learn about my business background and seemed genuinely impressed by my success in real estate development. "Michael told me about some of your major projects," she said during one of their early visits to Boulder. "The Riverside Commons development sounds incredibly impressive. I'd love to see it sometime and hear more about how you transformed that contaminated site into such a successful community." I was pleased by Jennifer's apparent interest in my work and her willingness to encourage Michael toward better family communication. She seemed to understand that family relationships required ongoing effort and attention, and I hoped that marriage would help Michael develop more consistent patterns of caring for others and maintaining family connections. Jennifer also shared stories about her own family's approach to supporting each other through challenges and seemed to understand the importance of being present during difficult times. "When my grandmother had her stroke last year," she told me, "our whole family reorganized our schedules to make sure someone was with her every day during her recovery. It wasn't always convenient, but family takes priority over everything else when someone needs help." I was impressed by Jennifer's apparent commitment to family caregiving and hopeful that marriage would help Michael develop similar values and priorities. I was also grateful that someone with professional marketing experience would be part of our family, potentially providing expertise that could be valuable for business networking and community involvement. Most importantly, Jennifer seemed to genuinely care about Michael's character development and was willing to encourage him toward better behavior rather than simply accepting his selfishness as unchangeable. During their engagement, I noticed that Michael was more considerate and thoughtful when Jennifer was present, suggesting that her influence might help him become a more caring person overall. I paid for their wedding, a $45,000 celebration at a resort in Vail that Jennifer had dreamed of since childhood. The venue was elegant and intimate, with mountain views and luxury accommodations that reflected both their good taste and my financial generosity. We had 150 guests, including my business associates, longtime family friends, and Jennifer's extended family from Arizona. The wedding planning process revealed Jennifer's organizational skills and attention to detail, but also her expectation that quality and elegance should be prioritized regardless of cost. She had researched every aspect of the celebration and had specific preferences about flowers, catering, music, and photography that reflected sophisticated tastes and high standards. "I want our wedding to be something people remember as beautiful and meaningful," she explained when presenting her detailed plans and budget proposals. "This is a once-in-a-lifetime celebration, and I think it's worth investing in making it perfect." The reception featured a 7-course dinner prepared by the resort's award-winning chef, premium wine pairings selected by a professional sommelier, live music from a jazz quartet that had performed at celebrity weddings, and floral arrangements that transformed the ballroom into something worthy of a luxury wedding magazine. Jennifer's dress was a designer gown from an exclusive boutique in Denver that cost $8,000, and Michael wore a custom tuxedo that made him look sophisticated and successful. The photography package included both traditional wedding photos and artistic portraits that would provide beautiful memories for years to come. I was happy to fund their dream wedding because I could easily afford it, because I wanted to welcome Jennifer into our family with generosity and celebration, and because I hoped this investment in their happiness would contribute to a strong marriage that would benefit both of them and strengthen our family connections. The wedding day itself was beautiful and emotional, with Jennifer looking radiant, and Michael appearing genuinely happy and grateful for the celebration we had created. During the reception, both Jennifer and Michael gave speeches thanking me for my generosity and expressing their commitment to building a strong family relationship that would honor the love and support I had provided. "Eleanor has been more than generous in welcoming me into this family," Jennifer said during her reception speech, "and I want her to know that I'm committed to building the kind of close, supportive relationship that will make Michael a better son and our family stronger for generations to come." Michael's speech was equally touching. "Mom, thank you for giving Jennifer and me the perfect start to our marriage. I know Dad would be proud of the man I'm becoming and the family we're building together. I promise to be the son you deserve, and to always prioritize our family relationships." Those speeches seemed genuine at the time and gave me hope that marriage would indeed help Michael develop into a more caring and family-focused person. But looking back now, I can see that both Michael and Jennifer were already skilled at saying exactly what they thought I wanted to hear, while maintaining their private priorities and expectations. When they started looking for their first house, 3 years later, I provided the $85,000 down payment as a wedding gift continuation. The house was a beautiful 5-bedroom colonial in Cherry Hills Village, one of Denver's most prestigious suburbs, with excellent schools and a strong sense of community among successful professional families. The property featured a 3-car garage, finished basement with home theater, chef's kitchen with premium appliances, master suite with walk-in closets and luxury bathroom, and professionally landscaped backyard with mature trees that provided both beauty and privacy. "This house represents everything we've dreamed of for our family's future," Jennifer explained when they asked for down payment assistance. "The neighborhood has excellent schools for the children we're planning, and the house itself is perfect for entertaining and building the kind of professional and social networks that will support our career growth." Michael added his own perspective. "Mom, this house is an investment in our family's long-term success. The appreciation potential in this neighborhood is excellent, and owning a home here will provide stability and status that will benefit our entire family for years to come." Their request for down payment assistance was presented professionally, with detailed financial projections, neighborhood analysis, and explanations of how homeownership in this area would provide both personal satisfaction and financial benefits that would ultimately make them more financially secure and better positioned to support family members if needed in the future. The mortgage payments were manageable on their combined income. Jennifer was earning $72,000 annually as a marketing manager at a growing tech company, and Michael was earning approximately $105,000 annually in pharmaceutical sales. Together, their $177,000 household income was more than sufficient to support their mortgage, living expenses, and the comfortable lifestyle they wanted to maintain. My $85,000 down payment gift allowed them to purchase a nicer home in a better neighborhood than they could have afforded independently, while keeping their monthly payments at a level that would allow them to save for other goals like starting a family, taking vacations, and building their own investment portfolio. For the first few years of their marriage, this arrangement seemed to work well for everyone. Michael was more attentive to family relationships when he had Jennifer's encouragement and planning assistance. He called more regularly, remembered important dates without prompting, visited more often, and seemed generally more engaged with family connections. Jennifer managed their household efficiently and seemed committed to building the stable, successful life she had always envisioned. She sent regular updates about their activities, shared photos of their home improvements and social events, and made an effort to include me in their major decisions and celebrations. I enjoyed being a generous mother and mother-in-law who could provide opportunities and security that enhanced their quality of life. The house down payment had allowed them to establish themselves in a community where they could build professional networks, social relationships, and eventually raise children in an environment that would provide excellent educational and cultural opportunities. Their gratitude seemed genuine, and their efforts to maintain family relationships appeared to demonstrate that my investments in their happiness were generating the kind of closer family connections I had hoped for during my later years. But what I didn't realize was that I was actually witnessing the establishment of a pattern where Michael and Jennifer viewed my financial generosity as validation of their relationship with me, rather than understanding that family relationships should be based on genuine care and support that isn't dependent on financial benefits. They were learning to provide just enough attention and engagement to maintain my satisfaction and generosity, while never developing the deeper emotional connections and caring instincts that would be tested when I actually needed their support during a crisis. More troubling, they were beginning to view my wealth not as my personal resources that I could choose to share or withhold based on their behavior, but as family assets that they had legitimate expectations to access based on their status as my closest relatives. The foundation was being laid for a relationship dynamic where my value to them was primarily financial, and where their expressions of care and appreciation were strategic rather than genuine. But it would take a medical emergency to reveal just how conditional and calculating their family loyalty actually was. In March 2023, at age 73, I made the decision that would change everything and ultimately reveal the true nature of Michael and Jennifer's feelings toward me. It was a decision that seemed logical, even wise at the time, but one that would create the vulnerability they needed to begin exploiting me systematically while positioning themselves for maximum inheritance benefits. I decided to sell Richardson properties and development and retire from active business management. The decision wasn't made lightly or impulsively. I had been considering retirement for several years as the demands of running a major development company became more physically and mentally exhausting. At 73, I was still sharp and capable, but I was also realistic about the energy required to manage complex commercial projects, oversee construction timelines, negotiate with municipal governments, and maintain the client relationships that kept the business profitable. More importantly, I had achieved everything I had set out to accomplish in the real estate development industry. My company had completed over 200 successful projects, transformed dozens of neighborhoods, created thousands of jobs, and generated substantial wealth for investors while building communities that improved people's lives. I had proven that sustainable development could be both profitable and socially beneficial, and I had established a reputation that would outlast my active involvement in the business. The sale of Richardson Properties presented an opportunity to convert decades of business equity into liquid assets that would provide financial security for the rest of my life, while giving me the freedom to focus on family relationships and personal interests that I had often postponed due to business obligations. I had received several acquisition offers over the years from larger development companies that wanted to expand their Colorado operations, but I had always declined because I wasn't ready to give up control of the company I had built from nothing. But in early 2023, I received an offer from Denver Metropolitan Development Group that was both financially attractive and strategically sound for the future of my projects and employees. DMD Group was a well-established company with an excellent reputation for completing quality developments while maintaining the community-focused approach that had always been central to my business philosophy. They had the resources to take on larger projects than Richardson Properties could handle independently, and they had expressed genuine interest in continuing the sustainable development practices that had made my company successful. The acquisition offer was for $3.2 million, a sum that reflected not just the value of current projects and property holdings, but also the reputation, client relationships, and development expertise that I had built over nearly 4 decades. The deal included employment contracts for all of my key staff members, continuation of existing client relationships, and completion of current projects according to the quality standards that Richardson Properties had always maintained. Most importantly, the sale would provide me with financial resources that would allow me to live comfortably for the rest of my life, while having substantial assets to leave to family members who demonstrated genuine care and appreciation for the sacrifices I had made to build this wealth. The sale process took 6 months to complete, involving detailed financial audits, legal reviews, client transition planning, and employee consultations that ensured the business would continue to operate successfully under new ownership. During this period, I began to consider how I wanted to spend my retirement years and what changes I might want to make in my living situation and family relationships. At 73, I was healthy and energetic, with potentially 20 or more years of retirement ahead of me. I had the financial resources to live anywhere I wanted, pursue any interests that appealed to me, and invest time in relationships and activities that I had often neglected during my intensive business-building years. The logical choice seemed to be maintaining my current lifestyle in Boulder, where I had established roots, built professional networks, and created a comfortable living situation in my custom-designed home. Boulder offered cultural amenities, recreational opportunities, and social connections that could provide a fulfilling retirement experience without requiring major adjustments to my established routines. But as I considered my options, I found myself thinking increasingly about family relationships and the possibility of spending more time with Michael and Jennifer during my later years. They were my closest relatives, and retirement offered an opportunity to build deeper connections with them and potentially become more involved in their lives as they started their own family. The idea of relocating to Denver to be closer to Michael and Jennifer began to seem increasingly appealing as I imagined the kind of grandmother I could become and the family relationships I could build during my retirement years. Denver was only 30 miles from Boulder, so I wouldn't be giving up access to my established friendships and activities, but I would be close enough to see Michael and Jennifer regularly and participate in their daily lives in ways that had been difficult while I was focused on business management. During several conversations with Michael and Jennifer about my retirement plans, they seemed enthusiastic about the possibility of having me live closer to them and expressed genuine interest in spending more time together as a family. "Mom, having you in Denver would be incredible," Michael said when I first mentioned the possibility of relocating. "Jennifer and I have been talking about how we wish we could see you more often and be more involved in each other's lives." And, honestly, Jennifer added, we've been hoping to start a family soon, and having you nearby would be such a blessing. Our children would be so lucky to have their grandmother close by while they're growing up. Their enthusiasm seemed genuine and touched on exactly the kind of family relationships I was hoping to build during retirement. The prospect of being involved in raising grandchildren, sharing family traditions, and creating the kind of close extended family relationships that I had missed during my intensive business years was incredibly appealing. We began to discuss practical arrangements for my potential relocation to Denver. Michael and Jennifer suggested that I consider purchasing a property in their neighborhood, where I could maintain my independence while being close enough for regular family interaction and mutual support. There are some beautiful properties in Cherry Hills Village that would be perfect for you, Jennifer suggested during one of our planning conversations. You could have your own space and privacy, but we'd be close enough for family dinners, babysitting, and all the kinds of activities that make families close. And Mom, Michael added, having you nearby would be really beneficial for all of us. Jennifer and I could help with anything you need as you get older, and you could be involved in our family life in ways that aren't possible when you're in Boulder. The financial aspects of the relocation were certainly manageable. With $3.2 million from the business sale, plus my existing real estate portfolio and investment accounts, I could easily afford to purchase a luxury property in Denver, while maintaining my Boulder estate as a rental property or vacation home. We researched available properties in Cherry Hills Village and identified several options that would provide the kind of elegant, comfortable living situation I wanted while being convenient to Michael and Jennifer's home. The neighborhood was prestigious and well-maintained, with mature trees, large lots, and architectural styles that reflected the sophisticated tastes of successful professional families. One property in particular caught my attention, a $1.44 million custom-built home on a corner lot with mature landscaping, mountain views, and an open floor plan that would be perfect for entertaining family and friends. The house featured 4 bedrooms, 3.5 bathrooms, a gourmet kitchen, formal dining room, and a finished basement that could serve as a recreation area for future grandchildren. The property also included a 3-car garage, professional landscaping with automatic irrigation, and a deck that overlooked the mountains and provided space for outdoor entertaining during Colorado's beautiful summer and fall seasons. This house would be perfect for family gatherings, Jennifer observed when we toured the property together. The kitchen is ideal for cooking big family meals, and the deck would be wonderful for barbecues and birthday parties once we have children. And Mom, Michael added, this neighborhood has some of the best schools in Colorado, so if you ever wanted to be involved in grandchildren's education or school activities, you'd be right in the heart of an excellent school district. Their involvement in helping me select a property and their excitement about the family activities we could share in my new home seemed to confirm that relocating to Denver would indeed provide the kind of closer family relationships I was hoping for during retirement. But what I didn't recognize at the time was that Michael and Jennifer's enthusiasm for my relocation was motivated primarily by the financial advantages they expected to gain from having me nearby, rather than by genuine desire for closer family relationships. From their perspective, having me living in Denver would provide several strategic benefits that had nothing to do with emotional connection or family bonding. First, my proximity would make it easier for them to influence my daily decisions and gradually position themselves as essential to my well-being and happiness. Second, living near me would allow them to monitor my social activities and relationships, ensuring that other people didn't gain influence over my estate planning decisions or inheritance arrangements. Third, my presence in their neighborhood would enhance their social status and provide networking opportunities with other wealthy families who would view my successful business background and obvious financial resources as validation of Michael and Jennifer's own success and prospects. Most importantly, they understood that elderly family members who relocate to be closer to younger relatives often become increasingly dependent on those relatives for practical support, social interaction, and decision-making assistance, creating opportunities for influence and control that could be leveraged for financial benefit. But I was focused on the positive possibilities of retirement and family connection, and I interpreted their encouragement as evidence that they genuinely wanted to build the kind of loving, supportive family relationships that I had been too busy to prioritize during my business-building years. In August 2023, I purchased the Cherry Hills Village property for $1.4 million and began the process of relocating from Boulder to Denver. The move required careful coordination of household goods, personal belongings, business records, and the numerous practical details involved in changing residences while maintaining ownership of multiple properties. I decided to keep my Boulder estate rather than selling it, partly for sentimental reasons and partly as a financial hedge that would provide flexibility if I ever wanted to return to Boulder or needed additional rental income. The Boulder property was fully paid for and could generate substantial rental income if I chose to lease it, or could serve as a retreat location when I wanted a change of scenery. The Denver move was complicated by the need to establish new professional relationships with healthcare providers, financial advisors, legal services, and other support systems that I had used in Boulder for many years. I needed to find new doctors who could manage my healthcare as I aged, new accountants who could handle my complex tax situation involving multiple properties and investment accounts, and new legal counsel who could assist with estate planning, adjustments related to my changed living situation. Michael and Jennifer were helpful during the moving process, assisting with research on local service providers, helping coordinate furniture delivery and household setup, and providing practical support that made the transition easier and more efficient. Mom, we want to make sure you have the best possible experience settling into Denver, Jennifer said when offering to help research local physicians and specialists. We've lived here for several years now, so we know which doctors have the best reputations and which services are most reliable. And we want to help however we can with the practical details, Michael added. Moving is stressful at any age, and we want to make sure you feel completely comfortable and supported during this transition. Their assistance seemed genuinely caring and was certainly practical and valuable. They helped me identify excellent healthcare providers, recommended reliable contractors for minor home modifications, and introduced me to neighbors and community activities that would help me build social connections in my new environment. For the first few months after my relocation, the arrangement seemed to work exactly as I had hoped. Michael and Jennifer were attentive and available, including me in their social activities, inviting me for regular family dinners, and showing genuine interest in my adjustment to retirement and my new living situation. We developed routines that provided regular family interaction without feeling forced or artificial. Sunday dinners at their house became a weekly tradition, with Jennifer cooking elaborate meals and Michael sharing stories about his work and their social activities. I would often arrive early to help with meal preparation and stay late for conversation and family time that reminded me of the kind of close relationships I had envisioned during my retirement planning. This is exactly what I hoped family life would be like, I mentioned to Jennifer during one of our Sunday dinners. It's wonderful to have regular time together and to feel like I'm really part of your daily lives. We love having you so close, she replied warmly. It makes everything feel more like a real family, and we're already looking forward to how much fun it will be when we have children and they can grow up knowing their grandmother so well. Michael and Jennifer also included me in their social activities, introducing me to their friends and colleagues as evidence of their close family relationships and my successful business background. I was invited to dinner parties, neighborhood gatherings, and professional events where my presence seemed to enhance their social status and provide networking opportunities that benefited their careers. Everyone is so impressed that you built such a successful company, Jennifer would say after social events where I had shared stories about major development projects. It really adds to our credibility as a couple when people know that Michael comes from a family of successful entrepreneurs. Was pleased to contribute to their social success and happy to share my business experience with their friends and colleagues. Building professional networks had always been important to my own success, and I was glad to help Michael and Jennifer establish connections that could benefit their career development. During this initial period, I also began to establish my own social connections and activities in Denver. I joined a women's investment club that met monthly to discuss financial strategies and market analysis. I became involved with a local charity that provided housing assistance for low-income families, contributing both financial support and practical expertise about real estate development and affordable housing strategies. I also pursued personal interests that I had neglected during my intensive business years, taking a photography class, joining a hiking group that explored Colorado's mountain trails, and beginning to learn about wine appreciation through tastings and educational events. "It's wonderful to see you so engaged and happy," Michael observed during one of our family dinners. "Retirement really suits you, and it's great that you're building such an active social life here in Denver. And we love being part of your new life," Jennifer added. "It feels like we're all building something really special together as a family." Those early months in Denver provided exactly the kind of retirement experience I had hoped for: family connection, personal fulfillment, social engagement, and the freedom to pursue interests and relationships that I had often postponed during my business-building years. But what I didn't recognize was that Michael and Jennifer were carefully observing my adjustment to retirement and my increasing satisfaction with our family relationships, looking for opportunities to begin leveraging my contentment and gratitude into financial advantages for themselves. They were learning about my daily routines, social connections, and decision-making processes, gathering information that would later be useful for influencing my choices and positioning themselves as indispensable to my happiness and well-being. More troubling, they were beginning to make subtle suggestions about how my wealth could be used to enhance our family relationships and provide security for our shared future. Suggestions that seemed caring and family-focused, but were actually designed to test my willingness to increase my financial support for their personal goals. "Mom, we've been thinking about how wonderful it would be to take a family vacation together," Jennifer mentioned during one of our November dinners. "Maybe somewhere warm for Christmas, where we could really relax and enjoy each other's company without the distractions of work and daily responsibilities." "That sounds lovely," I replied, genuinely interested in the idea of a family vacation that would provide opportunities for deeper connection and shared experiences. "We were thinking about Hawaii or maybe the Caribbean," Michael added. "Somewhere with beautiful resorts where we could have luxury accommodations and activities that would make the trip really special and memorable." "I'd be happy to plan and pay for a family vacation," I offered, pleased at the prospect of creating family memories and demonstrating my appreciation for their inclusion of me in their daily lives. "That's incredibly generous," Jennifer said, with what seemed like genuine gratitude. "A trip like that would be a wonderful way to celebrate your successful retirement and our growing family relationships." The vacation planning became an opportunity for Michael and Jennifer to research expensive resorts, first-class accommodations, and luxury travel arrangements that would far exceed what they could afford on their own income. They presented their research as efforts to find the perfect family experience, but the options they suggested consistently involved premium accommodations and activities that would require substantial financial investment from me. "We found this amazing resort in Maui that has private villas, world-class dining, and activities like snorkeling, golf, and spa treatments," Jennifer explained when presenting their vacation research. "It would be perfect for a week-long family getaway that would give us uninterrupted time together." "The villas are expensive," Michael admitted, "but they provide the kind of privacy and luxury that would make the trip really special. And honestly, Mom, you deserve to enjoy the fruits of your hard work and success." The resort they had selected was indeed beautiful and luxurious, but the cost for a week-long stay would be approximately $18,000 for accommodations, meals, and activities. While I could certainly afford this expense, It represented a significant financial commitment for what was essentially a test of my willingness to fund their luxury lifestyle preferences. I agreed to the vacation because I was genuinely excited about the family experience and because I could afford the expense without financial difficulty. But what I didn't understand was that my willingness to fund luxury accommodations and expensive activities was being interpreted by Michael and Jennifer as evidence that I was prepared to be generous with my wealth in ways that could benefit their long-term financial goals. The Hawaii vacation in December 2023 was indeed beautiful and provided wonderful family bonding opportunities. We spent a week at the luxury resort, enjoying gourmet meals, beautiful beaches, and activities that created exactly the kind of family memories I had hoped for during retirement. "This is the best family vacation we've ever had," Jennifer said, on our last evening at the resort. "It's been so wonderful to have uninterrupted time together and to really feel like a close family." "And Mom," Michael added, "your generosity in making this possible means more to us than you know. This trip has shown us what our family relationships can be like when we really prioritize spending time together." The vacation seemed to demonstrate that my financial generosity was indeed contributing to stronger family relationships, and that Michael and Jennifer genuinely appreciated the opportunities I was providing for family connection and shared experiences. But during our return flight to Denver, Michael and Jennifer began a conversation that would reveal their true priorities and begin the systematic escalation of financial expectations that would ultimately lead to the hospital abandonment and my inheritance decision. "Mom, this vacation has made Jennifer and me think about our long-term family goals," Michael began carefully during our flight. "We've realized how much we want to build the kind of close family relationships we've experienced this week." "That's wonderful," I replied, genuinely pleased that the vacation had strengthened our family bonds. "I've loved spending this time together and seeing how well we all get along. The thing is," Jennifer continued, "we've been talking about how we could make our family even closer and more supportive of each other. We think there might be opportunities to combine our resources and planning in ways that would benefit everyone." "What do you mean?" I asked, though I was beginning to sense that this conversation was moving toward financial topics rather than emotional family planning. "Well, we've been thinking about buying a larger house," Michael explained. "Something that would have space for family gatherings, guest accommodations for when you visit, and room for the children we're planning to have." "And honestly," Jennifer added, "we've been wondering if it might make sense to consider buying a house together. Something large enough for all of us to live comfortably while maintaining our independence." They had prepared for this conversation and had obviously discussed their approach in advance. They presented the idea of shared housing as a natural extension of our family closeness and a practical arrangement that would provide benefits for everyone involved. "Think about it, Mom," Michael continued. "A larger house with separate living spaces would allow us to share daily life while maintaining privacy when we want it. You could have your own wing of the house, and we could share common areas for family activities." "And financially," Jennifer added, "combining our resources would allow us to afford something much nicer than any of us could manage independently. We could have the kind of luxury home that would be perfect for entertaining, family gatherings, and eventually raising children." The proposal was presented as a family planning opportunity rather than a financial request, but the underlying message was clear. They wanted me to help fund a house upgrade that would benefit them while providing justification for increased access to my daily life and decision-making. This was the beginning of their systematic campaign to convert my retirement contentment and family appreciation into financial leverage that would ultimately position them for maximum inheritance benefits, while gradually increasing their control over my resources and choices. The seeds of exploitation had been planted, and my vulnerability as a retired person seeking family connection was about to be systematically leveraged for their personal gain. The first 3 months after my relocation to Denver in late 2023 represented what I now recognize as the honeymoon phase of my relationship with Michael and Jennifer. A carefully orchestrated period where they provided genuine attention and support while observing my routines, preferences, and decision-making patterns to identify the most effective strategies for extracting maximum financial benefits from my retirement wealth. At the time, however, I interpreted their attentiveness as validation of my decision to relocate for family, connection, and evidence that we were building exactly the kind of close, supportive relationships I had hoped for during my retirement years. Michael and Jennifer had developed an impressive system for making me feel valued and appreciated while gradually gathering information about my financial resources, daily habits, and emotional vulnerabilities that would later be used to manipulate my decisions and increase their access to my wealth. The foundation of their strategy was creating routines and traditions that made me feel like an essential part of their daily lives while positioning themselves as indispensable to my happiness and social connection in Denver. Sunday family dinners became the centerpiece of our weekly interaction, with Jennifer preparing elaborate meals that showcased her domestic skills, while creating opportunities for extended conversation and relationship building. These dinners typically lasted 3 to 4 hours, providing time for detailed discussions about our weekly activities, future plans, and family memories that reinforced our emotional connections. "I love our Sunday dinners," Jennifer would say, while preparing gourmet meals that often included multiple courses, wine pairings, and desserts that rivaled restaurant quality. "It gives us a chance to really catch up and feel like a close family, rather than just relatives who see each other occasionally." The dinners were indeed lovely, and provided exactly the kind of regular family interaction I had envisioned when planning my retirement relocation. Jennifer was an excellent cook who took pride in creating memorable dining experiences, and Michael was an engaging conversationalist who shared stories about his work, their social activities, and his observations about business and investment trends that connected to my professional background. But what I didn't recognize at the time was that these dinners were carefully designed to extract information about my financial situation, investment strategies, and estate planning thoughts while making me feel grateful for their inclusion and attention. "Mom, you mentioned that you're working with a new financial advisor here in Denver?" Michael would say during casual dinner conversation. "How are you finding the transition from your Boulder team? Are you happy with the investment strategies they're recommending? And I'm curious about your real estate portfolio," Jennifer would add. "With your expertise in development, you must have some interesting investment properties that are performing well in this market." These questions seemed like natural expressions of interest in my professional background and retirement planning. But they were actually intelligence-gathering efforts designed to understand the scope of my wealth and identify potential opportunities for financial influence or assistance requests. During these conversations, I would share information about my investment returns, property values, business sale proceeds, and financial planning strategies, because I was pleased that they seemed interested in my expertise, and because I hoped that discussing my success might provide valuable education for their own financial planning. The business sale generated more cash than I had anticipated, I might mention when discussing investment portfolio diversification. I'm working with my new advisors to balance growth potential with income generation while maintaining enough liquidity for major expenses or opportunities. "That's impressive, Mom," Michael would respond with what seemed like genuine admiration. "Your financial planning has been so sophisticated. Jennifer and I are trying to learn from your approach as we think about our own long-term strategies. We'd love to understand more about how you've structured your real estate investments," Jennifer would add. "With property values in Denver continuing to rise, we're wondering if there might be opportunities for family investment partnerships that could benefit everyone." These conversations established a pattern where my financial success was praised and admired while subtle suggestions were introduced about potential ways my wealth could be leveraged for family benefit or shared investment opportunities. Beyond Sunday dinners, Michael and Jennifer created numerous other opportunities for regular interaction that made me feel included in their daily lives while providing additional chances to observe my routines and preferences. Thursday evening, wine and conversation. Sessions became another weekly tradition, with Michael selecting wines from his growing collection and Jennifer preparing appetizers while we discussed current events, family memories, and future plans in a relaxed, informal setting. These Thursday evenings are becoming my favorite part of the week, I would tell them after particularly enjoyable conversations about travel, culture, or business trends. It's wonderful to have regular time for deeper conversations rather than just quick phone calls or brief visits. We love having you here, Jennifer would reply warmly. It makes our house feel more like a real family home, and we're learning so much from your life experience and business wisdom. During these Thursday sessions, Michael and Jennifer would often introduce topics related to their career aspirations, financial goals, and lifestyle dreams in ways that seemed like natural conversation, but were actually designed to plant seeds for future financial requests. Jennifer's been offered a promotion opportunity that would involve some additional training and certification, Michael might mention during wine conversation. It's a great career move, but the education costs are significant, and we're trying to figure out how to manage the investment. And Michael has been considering a career transition into real estate development, Jennifer would add. With your background and expertise, we've been wondering if there might be opportunities for him to learn the business while potentially participating in investment projects. These conversations introduced the idea that my financial resources could be used to accelerate their career development and income potential, while framing such assistance as family investment opportunities rather than charitable gifts. Michael and Jennifer also made a point of including me in their social activities and community involvement, introducing me to their friends and colleagues as evidence of their close family relationships while using my business background and obvious financial success to enhance their own social status and professional credibility. This is Michael's mother, Eleanor Richardson, Jennifer would say when introducing me at dinner parties or neighborhood gatherings. She just retired after building one of Colorado's most successful real estate development companies. She's amazing. You should hear some of her stories about transforming entire neighborhoods. These introductions served multiple purposes. They made me feel valued and respected. They enhanced Michael and Jennifer's reputation within their social and professional networks, and they established my credentials as someone with substantial wealth and business expertise who might be interested in investment opportunities or partnership arrangements. During social events, I was often asked to share stories about major development projects, business challenges I had overcome, and investment strategies that had contributed to my success. I enjoyed these conversations because they allowed me to share my professional expertise and because they seemed to demonstrate that Michael and Jennifer were proud of my accomplishments. Your mother is incredible, their friends would often tell Michael and Jennifer. You're so lucky to have someone with her business expertise and success as part of your family. We know how fortunate we are, Michael would reply with apparent sincerity. Having Mom close by has been wonderful for our family, and we're learning so much from her experience and wisdom. But what I didn't understand was that these social introductions were also serving as advertisements for my wealth and investment capacity, potentially attracting business proposals, partnership suggestions, and social connections that Michael and Jennifer hoped might create opportunities for family financial involvement or shared investment ventures. During this initial period, Michael and Jennifer also provided practical assistance and support that seemed to demonstrate genuine care about my well-being and adjustment to retirement life in Denver. When I mentioned that I was having difficulty finding reliable contractors for minor home maintenance projects, Jennifer researched local service providers and helped coordinate repairs and improvements that enhanced my comfort and satisfaction with my new home. I want to make sure you have the best possible experience in your new house, she explained when presenting her research on local contractors, cleaning services, and maintenance providers. You should be able to enjoy your retirement without worrying about household management details. When I expressed interest in finding social activities and community involvement opportunities, Michael helped me research local organizations, charity groups, and social clubs that aligned with my interests and provided opportunities for meaningful engagement with Denver's professional and philanthropic communities. "Mom, you have so much to offer these organizations," he said when presenting information about charity boards, investment clubs, and professional associations. "Your business expertise and leadership experience would be valuable for any group that's focused on community development or financial education." This assistance seemed genuinely helpful and demonstrated their commitment to ensuring my successful transition to Denver life. I was grateful for their research and support, and I interpreted their efforts as evidence that they truly cared about my happiness and well-being, rather than recognizing them as investments in maintaining my satisfaction and gratitude. During this period, I also began to notice what seemed like positive changes in Michael's character and approach to family relationships. He was more attentive, more considerate, and more interested in spending time together than he had been during his adult years when he lived at a distance and maintained minimal contact. "I realize I haven't always been the best son," he told me during one of our Thursday evening conversations. "When Dad was sick, I was too focused on my own goals and didn't provide the support you both needed. Having you here in Denver is giving me a chance to be better and to build the kind of relationship I should have prioritized years ago." This seemed like genuine personal growth and recognition of past shortcomings, and I was moved by his apparent commitment to improving our relationship and developing more mature approaches to family responsibility. "I'm proud of the man you're becoming," I told him during that conversation. "People can grow and change, and what matters is who you choose to be going forward." Jennifer also seemed to be having a positive influence on Michael's character development, encouraging him to be more thoughtful about family relationships and more considerate of my needs and preferences. "Jennifer has helped me understand how important family connections are," Michael would say when explaining his increased attention to our relationship. "Her family is so close and supportive, and being with her has shown me what I was missing by not prioritizing our family relationships." The first major escalation occurred during what Michael announced as a family financial planning meeting in early March, where they presented detailed proposals for shared investments and collaborative financial arrangements that would have given them access to substantial portions of my wealth while providing minimal benefits for me. "Mom, Jennifer, and I have been doing some serious research about optimal strategies for family wealth management and intergenerational financial planning," Michael began with the kind of professional presentation style that suggested they had rehearsed this conversation extensively. They had prepared materials, printed articles about family investment partnerships, charts showing potential returns on various real estate ventures, and documentation about tax advantages of shared financial planning that appeared professionally researched and carefully considered. "What we've discovered," Jennifer added, joining the conversation with a folder of documents, "is that families with substantial assets can achieve much better outcomes when they coordinate their investment strategies and pool their resources for larger opportunities." The materials they presented were impressive and seemed to demonstrate sophisticated understanding of investment principles and tax optimization strategies. But buried in their proposals were arrangements that would have transferred significant control over my financial resources to their management, while providing them with immediate access to capital for their personal goals. "For instance," Michael continued, "there's a commercial development opportunity in downtown Denver that requires a $400,000 investment, but could provide returns of 15–20% annually over the next 5 years. The project involves converting an old office building into luxury condominiums," Jennifer explained. "With your development expertise and our willingness to manage the day-to-day details, this could be an ideal family investment that generates substantial returns while giving us experience in real estate development." The proposal sounded reasonable on the surface and was presented as an opportunity for me to share my expertise while generating good investment returns. But the financial structure they suggested would have required me to provide the entire $400,000 investment while they contributed only their time and management services, with profits to be shared equally, despite the massive difference in financial contribution. We're not asking you to take all the risk, Michael was careful to emphasize. We'd be contributing our time, energy, and management expertise, which has substantial value even though it's not a cash investment. And honestly, Jennifer added, having us involved in the project management would protect your investment and ensure that the development is completed on time and within budget. When I expressed concern about the risk level and the structure of their proposed partnership, their response revealed underlying assumptions about my decision-making capacity and their entitlement to influence my investment choices. Mom, with your experience in real estate development, this type of project should be very comfortable for you, Michael said with subtle condescension. The risk profile is actually quite conservative compared to some of the projects you completed during your career. And frankly, Jennifer added, this is exactly the kind of opportunity that successful families use to build wealth across generations. You have the capital, we have the energy and time to manage the project, and together, we can create something that benefits everyone. They were using my business expertise to justify the investment, while simultaneously suggesting that my age and retirement status made their management and oversight essential for project success. The underlying message was that I should provide the money while they controlled the project and shared equally in the profits. When I declined to commit to their development partnership, explaining that I preferred to maintain more conservative investment strategies during retirement, their disappointment was obvious and concerning. Mom, we're just trying to help you optimize your investment returns, Michael said with frustration that seemed disproportionate to my refusal of a speculative investment opportunity. You can't generate significant growth by keeping all your money in bonds and conservative portfolios. And honestly, Jennifer added, we were hoping that working together on investment projects would be a way for our family to build wealth and shared experiences that would strengthen our relationships. The implied threat was clear. Our family relationships were somehow dependent on my willingness to provide funding for their investment schemes and business ventures. As my resistance to their development partnership proposal became apparent, Michael and Jennifer shifted their strategy to what they called practical family financial integration that would have given them even more direct access to my resources and decision-making processes. Mom, we need to have a serious conversation about your day-to-day financial management, Michael announced during one of our April family dinners. Jennifer and I have been observing your routines, and we think there are opportunities to streamline your financial administration while providing better oversight and assistance. What do you mean exactly? I asked, though I was beginning to understand that this conversation was heading toward suggestions for increased control over my banking and investment accounts. Well, you're managing multiple investment accounts, several real estate properties, tax planning across different states, and insurance policies that require ongoing attention, Jennifer explained. It's a lot of complexity for anyone to handle alone, especially during retirement when you should be focused on enjoying your life rather than dealing with administrative details. They had prepared a comprehensive analysis of my financial situation, including detailed spreadsheets showing my various accounts, property holdings, and monthly expenses that demonstrated they had been systematically gathering information about my resources and spending patterns for months. We've researched some family financial management strategies that could simplify your life while ensuring that all of your affairs are properly handled, Michael continued. For instance, we could establish joint accounts for routine expenses and property management that would allow us to handle bill payments and administrative details without bothering you with day-to-day tasks. And we could set up power of attorney arrangements that would give us the ability to manage financial emergencies or make decisions if you're ever traveling or unavailable, Jennifer added. The proposals seemed reasonable on the surface and were presented as assistance that would reduce my stress and administrative burden, but they would have given Michael and Jennifer access to my bank accounts, control over my bill payments, and legal authority to make financial decisions that could affect my independence and wealth preservation. We're not asking for control over your major decisions, Jennifer was careful to emphasize. We're just suggesting arrangements that would allow us to help with routine management and provide backup authority for emergency situations. And honestly, Mom, Michael added, having cancer really highlights how important it is to have proper financial safeguards in place. These arrangements would protect you and give us the tools we need to help you if health issues ever arise. When I expressed hesitation about transferring financial and administrative authority during my retirement, their response revealed underlying assumptions about my competence and their entitlement to influence my affairs. Mom, retirement financial. Management is incredibly complex, Michael said with false medical authority. Many retirees find it helpful to have family members handle administrative responsibilities so they can focus entirely on enjoying their retirement years. And honestly, Jennifer added, you're dealing with investment portfolios, multiple properties, and tax planning that would be challenging for anyone to manage alone. It would be much safer to have backup systems in place rather than trying to handle everything yourself. They were using my age and retirement status to suggest that I was becoming incapable of managing my own affairs, rather than understanding that successful retirees remain competent adults who retain the right to control their own financial and administrative decisions. When I declined to implement their financial management proposals, explaining that I preferred to maintain control over my accounts and decisions while working with my existing professional advisors, their frustration became more obvious and concerning. Mom, we're just trying to help, Michael said with anger that seemed disproportionate to my refusal of assistance I hadn't requested. We can't provide proper family support if you won't let us access the information and authority we need to handle emergencies. And honestly, Jennifer added, it's going to be very difficult for us to continue investing time and energy in family financial planning if we don't have the ability to implement strategies or make decisions when opportunities arise. The implied threat was clear. Their continued attention and support was conditional on my willingness to transfer financial control and administrative authority to them. As my resistance to their financial control proposals became apparent, Michael and Jennifer escalated their strategy to direct requests for substantial financial gifts and inheritance advances that revealed the true scope of their expectations and sense of entitlement. Mom, we need to have an honest conversation about our financial future and family legacy planning, Michael announced during a family meeting in May that felt more like a business negotiation than a family discussion. We've been thinking about the major expenses we'll face over the next few years, Jennifer continued, and we're hoping you might consider providing some early inheritance or substantial gifts that would help us achieve our family goals. They had prepared detailed presentations about their financial needs, including spreadsheets showing projected costs for house upgrades, starting a family, children's education expenses, and retirement planning that would require substantial financial assistance from me. The house upgrade we've been discussing would cost approximately $180,000, Michael announced, presenting this figure as if it were a modest request rather than a substantial financial demand. This would allow us to add a mother-in-law suite, upgrade the kitchen and bathrooms, and create the kind of family space that would be perfect for multi-generational living. And we've been researching the costs associated with starting a family, Jennifer added. Between fertility treatments, pregnancy expenses, childcare, and education planning, we're looking at substantial costs over the next decade that would be much more manageable with family financial assistance. They estimated that their family planning expenses would total approximately $250,000 over the next 5 years, and they were requesting that I provide this amount as a combination of gifts and early inheritance advances. We're not asking for charity, Michael was careful to emphasize. We're asking for family investment in our shared future that would benefit everyone by creating the kind of stable, comfortable family environment where we can raise children and provide the support you'll need as you age. And honestly, Jennifer added, providing this assistance now would be much more beneficial than waiting for estate planning to distribute assets after death. We could use these resources to build the family life that would provide security and happiness for all of us. Their request for nearly $500,000 in gifts and inheritance advances was presented as family planning rather than financial exploitation. But the underlying message was that my value to them was primarily financial, and that their family support was conditional on my willingness to fund their lifestyle goals. When I expressed shock at the scope of their financial requests and explained that such substantial gifts would require careful consideration and professional advice, their response revealed the extent of their entitlement and their assumptions about my obligations to fund their dreams. "Mom, you have to understand that we've been providing substantial support and care for you since you moved to Denver," Michael said defensively. "We've rearranged our schedules, included you in our social activities, and provided companionship and assistance that has made your retirement much more enjoyable and fulfilling. And honestly," Jennifer continued, "the time and energy we've invested in building family relationships and supporting your transition to Denver represents a significant contribution that should be recognized and appreciated." "We're not asking for money we haven't earned," Michael added. "We're asking for recognition of our commitment to family and investment in our shared future that would benefit everyone involved." They were presenting their attention and companionship during my retirement as services that entitled them to substantial financial compensation, rather than understanding that family relationships should involve mutual support without expectation of monetary reward. Most disturbing was their apparent belief that my retirement wealth was family money, that they had legitimate claims to access based on their status as my closest relatives, rather than understanding that inheritance is earned through demonstrated character and genuine care, rather than strategic relationship management. When I declined to provide the substantial gifts and inheritance advances they had requested, explaining that I needed to maintain my financial independence and that such large transfers would require comprehensive legal and tax planning, their response marked the beginning of the aggressive pressure campaign that would ultimately lead to the hospital. Abandonment. "Mom, we're disappointed that you don't seem to appreciate the support and care we've provided," Michael said with coldness that was shocking compared to the warmth he had shown during the previous months. "We've given up a lot to include you in our lives and help you adjust to retirement. And frankly," Jennifer added, "we're questioning whether our family relationships are as important to you as we thought they were. It's hard to understand why you would prioritize financial hoarding over family investment and shared success." The shift in their tone and attitude was dramatic and revealed that their previous warmth and attention had been strategic rather than genuine. When their financial requests were declined, their true feelings about our relationship became obvious. Over the following weeks, Michael and Jennifer began implementing what I now recognize as systematic pressure tactics designed to wear down my resistance and demonstrate the consequences of refusing their financial demands. Their availability for family dinners and social activities decreased significantly, with frequent cancellations due to work conflicts and prior commitments that hadn't existed when they were trying to establish dependency and gather financial information. "We're going through a really busy period right now," Michael would explain when canceling family dinners. "Work has been demanding, and we have some social obligations that we can't reschedule. And honestly," Jennifer would add, "we've been feeling like our family time hasn't been as rewarding as we hoped it would be. We're questioning whether we should continue investing so much energy in family activities." They were demonstrating that their attention and companionship were conditional on my financial generosity, rather than based on genuine care about my well-being or desire for family connection. During the limited interactions we did have, Michael and Jennifer began making pointed comments about my selfishness and lack of family commitment that were designed to make me feel guilty about maintaining financial boundaries. "Mom, it's really disappointing that you seem more concerned about your money than about your family's future," Michael would say during tense conversations about financial planning. "Dad always taught me that family comes first, but you seem to have different priorities. And honestly," Jennifer would add, "we're starting to understand why you were so focused on business for so many years. You seem to value financial accumulation more than family relationships and shared success." These comments were particularly manipulative because they used James's memory and my business success as weapons to make me feel guilty about protecting my financial independence. The pressure campaign intensified through the summer of 2024, with Michael and Jennifer alternating between emotional manipulation tactics and practical demonstrations of reduced family support that were designed to show me the consequences of refusing their financial demands. But what they didn't understand was that their pressure tactics were actually providing valuable information about their true character and priorities that would ultimately influence my estate planning decisions far more than their previous displays of attention and care. By September 2024, our family relationships had deteriorated to the point where interactions were tense and unpleasant, with most conversations involving either direct financial pressure or indirect guilt tactics designed to wear down my resistance. "Mom, we've been patient and understanding about your financial concerns," Michael said during one of our increasingly rare family dinners. "But we're starting to feel like you don't really care about our future or our family's success. And we're questioning whether we should continue investing time and energy in family relationships that don't seem to be valued or appreciated," Jennifer added with obvious resentment. Their threats to withdraw family support were becoming more direct and obvious, revealing that their previous attention had been entirely conditional on my willingness to fund their financial goals. But they were also revealing that they had no understanding of how their behavior was affecting my assessment of their character and their worthiness to inherit my assets and benefit from my estate planning. The medical emergency that would crystallize everything and lead to my estate planning changes was still several months away, but the foundation had been laid through months of systematic pressure, manipulation, and demonstrated selfishness that would make my inheritance decisions seem inevitable rather than impulsive. The breaking point came on a cold Tuesday morning in February 2025, 11 months after their initial financial demands began, when I experienced chest pains and shortness of breath that required immediate medical attention and would reveal the true extent of their selfishness and conditional family loyalty. Had been experiencing mild chest discomfort for several days, but had attributed it to stress from ongoing family tensions and the physical demands of maintaining my household and social activities independently as Michael and Jennifer withdrew their support and attention. But on Tuesday morning, February 18, 2025, the chest pains became severe enough that I knew I needed emergency medical care. I called Michael and Jennifer, explained that I was having cardiac symptoms and needed transportation to the hospital, and asked them to meet me at St. Mary's Hospital emergency room. "Mom, are you sure this is an emergency?" Michael's first response revealed his priorities. "Jennifer and I have some important commitments today, and we want to make sure this isn't just anxiety or stress before we rearrange our schedules." "Michael, I'm having chest pains and difficulty breathing," I replied, shocked that he was questioning the urgency of cardiac symptoms. "This could be a heart attack, and I need family support right now." "Okay, we'll meet you at the hospital," he agreed reluctantly. "But we hope this won't take all day because we have some things we really can't reschedule." I drove myself to St. Mary's Hospital, a decision that was medically inadvisable but necessary because Michael and Jennifer had made it clear that providing transportation was an inconvenience they wanted to avoid. When I arrived at the emergency room and explained my symptoms to the triage nurse, I was immediately taken for cardiac evaluation, including an EKG, blood tests, and chest X-rays that would determine whether I was experiencing a heart attack or other serious cardiac event. Michael and Jennifer arrived at the hospital about 45 minutes after I had been admitted, and their behavior in the emergency room revealed the complete absence of genuine concern or family caring that would ultimately influence my estate planning decisions. "How long is this going to take?" Michael asked the nurse before even greeting me or asking about my condition. "We have a dinner reservation at 7 p.m. that we really can't miss." "It's a dinner with Jennifer's boss," Jennifer explained to me while checking her phone for messages. "This could be really important for my career advancement, and we've been planning this for weeks." I was lying on a hospital bed, connected to cardiac monitors, waiting for test results that would determine whether I was experiencing a life-threatening medical emergency, and their primary concern was avoiding inconvenience to their social schedule. The doctor should have some preliminary results soon, I told them, hoping they would stay until we knew whether I was having a heart attack. I'd really appreciate having family here while we wait for the diagnosis. Of course we'll stay until we know you're okay, Michael said with the kind of careful tone that suggested he was saying what he thought he should say, rather than expressing genuine concern. But their behavior while we waited for test results revealed their true priorities and feelings about providing family support during my medical emergency. Instead of staying by my bedside or providing emotional support and companionship, Michael and Jennifer spent most of their time in the hospital hallway, making phone calls about their dinner plans and discussing how my medical situation might affect their evening schedule. Maybe we could still make the 8 p.m. reservation if this gets resolved quickly, I heard Jennifer say during one of their hallway conversations. How long do these emergency room visits usually take? I don't know, but we need to figure out a backup plan, Michael replied. This dinner could be really important for Jennifer's promotion, and I don't want Mom's health scare to ruin her career opportunity. They were treating my potential heart attack as an inconvenience that might interfere with their professional networking, rather than recognizing it as a family medical emergency that required their presence and support. When Dr. Martinez, the emergency room physician, came to discuss my test results, Michael and Jennifer returned to my bedside, but seemed more interested in the timeline for my discharge than in my diagnosis and treatment plan. Mrs. Richardson, your EKG shows some irregularities that indicate you're experiencing a mild heart attack, Dr. Martinez explained with the serious tone appropriate for delivering cardiac diagnosis news. We're going to admit you for observation and treatment to prevent further cardiac damage. What does that mean in terms of timeline? Michael asked immediately. Will she need to stay overnight, or can this be handled as an outpatient procedure? Mr. Richardson, your mother is having a heart attack, Dr. Martinez replied with obvious surprise at Michael's focus on logistics rather than medical seriousness. She'll need to stay in the hospital for at least 48 hours for cardiac monitoring and treatment. But she's going to be okay, right? Jennifer asked, though her tone suggested she was more concerned about the timeline than my prognosis. With proper treatment, most patients recover well from mild heart attacks, Dr. Martinez explained. But it's important to understand that this is a serious medical event that requires immediate treatment and ongoing monitoring. Michael and Jennifer exchanged looks that clearly communicated their frustration about the timing of my medical emergency and its impact on their evening plans. Mom, we're glad you're going to be okay, Michael said with manufactured concern. But since you'll be staying overnight and there's nothing we can do to help with your medical treatment, we're going to go ahead and keep our dinner plans. The restaurant has a very strict cancellation policy, Jennifer added. And this dinner could be crucial for my career advancement. We'll check on you tomorrow morning once you've had time to rest and receive treatment. I was stunned by their decision to leave the hospital during my heart attack treatment in order to attend a business dinner. But their reasoning revealed the complete absence of family loyalty and caring that would ultimately cost them their inheritance. Jennifer, I'm having a heart attack, I said, hardly able to believe we were having this conversation. Can't you reschedule a dinner to be with your mother-in-law during a medical emergency? Mom, you're in excellent hands with the medical staff, Michael replied with logic that made his abandonment sound reasonable. There's really nothing we can do here except sit around and wait, and that doesn't help anyone. And honestly, Jennifer added, this dinner represents a major career opportunity that I can't afford to miss. I'm sure you understand that professional advancement requires making difficult choices sometimes. Before I could protest further or ask them to reconsider, they were gathering their coats and preparing to leave me alone in the emergency room during my heart attack treatment. We'll call you later to check how you're feeling, Michael said as they headed toward the exit. Try to get some rest and we'll see you tomorrow. Feel better, Jennifer added over her shoulder as they walked away. And then they were gone, leaving me alone in a hospital bed during a cardiac emergency because their dinner reservation with Jennifer's boss was more important than providing family support during my heart attack. Sitting in that hospital room, connected to cardiac monitors and receiving treatment for a heart attack, I had time to reflect on 11 months of systematic exploitation disguised as family caring and the complete absence of genuine love or loyalty that Michael and Jennifer had just demonstrated. They had abandoned me during a medical emergency to attend a business dinner. They had prioritized career networking over family support when I was experiencing a life-threatening cardiac event. They had demonstrated that their relationship with me was entirely conditional, and that their expressions of family caring were strategic rather than genuine. But most importantly, their abandonment crystallized a pattern of behavior that had been developing since my retirement relocation. A pattern of viewing me primarily as a financial resource, rather than as a family member deserving care and support during times of vulnerability. During the long evening I spent alone in the cardiac care unit, I realized that my wealth represented decades of hard work, strategic planning, and calculated risks that had created financial security that should benefit people who demonstrated genuine care and appreciation, rather than those who exploited my generosity for their personal advantage. Also realized that I had the power to ensure my assets would benefit organizations and people who provided real support to others during medical crises, rather than family members who proved they couldn't be trusted when support was actually needed. The next morning, while Michael and Jennifer were presumably sleeping off their business dinner and congratulating themselves on Jennifer's career networking success, I was on the phone with my estate attorney making changes that would remove them from my $4.2 million will and redirect my $1.8 million real estate portfolio to charitable organizations that actually support people during medical emergencies. Robert, I need to make some immediate and comprehensive changes to my will and estate planning, I explained to my attorney from my hospital bed. I want to remove Michael and Jennifer from all inheritance provisions and redirect those assets to medical charities and family support organizations. Eleanor, that's a major change, Robert replied with appropriate concern. Can you tell me what's prompted this decision? I explained the hospital abandonment, the months of financial pressure and manipulation, and the systematic exploitation that had characterized our relationship since my retirement and relocation to Denver. They've demonstrated that their relationship with me is entirely transactional, I concluded. They view my medical needs as inconvenient obligations, and my assets as resources they're entitled to access based on strategic relationship management rather than genuine care. I understand, Robert said. How would you like to restructure your estate planning? I want the bulk of my assets to go to organizations that provide genuine support to elderly people during medical crises. Hospital foundations, emergency, family assistance programs, and cardiac research organizations that help people like me who need real support rather than conditional attention. The estate planning changes were completed within 48 hours, while I was still in the hospital recovering from my heart attack. Michael and Jennifer had no idea that their business dinner had just cost them approximately $6 million in inheritance and estate planning benefits. 3 days later, when I was discharged from the hospital, Michael and Jennifer made a perfunctory visit to check on my recovery and presumably to resume their relationship as if the abandonment had never happened. Mom, you look much better, Michael said with false concern when they arrived at my house. We're so glad the treatment was successful and that you're going to be okay. How are you feeling? Jennifer asked, though her tone suggested she was more interested in confirming my recovery than in providing ongoing support. I'm feeling much better, I replied calmly. And I've used my time in the hospital to make some important decisions about my future and my estate planning. What kind of decisions? Michael asked, clearly hoping this conversation would involve increased appreciation for their family support. I've removed both of you from my will and redirected my inheritance to charitable organizations that support people during medical emergencies, I explained matter-of-factly. The silence that followed was profound as they processed what I had just told them. "You removed us from your will?" Jennifer asked with shock and disbelief. "Yes. I also redirected my real estate portfolio and investment accounts to medical charities and family support organizations that provide genuine care rather than conditional attention." "Mom, why would you do that?" Michael asked with panic beginning to creep into his voice. "Because you abandoned me in the hospital during a heart attack to attend a business dinner," I replied. "And because 11 months of systematic financial pressure and manipulation revealed that your relationship with me is entirely transactional rather than based on genuine family caring." "But Mom, that was just one evening," Jennifer protested. "You can't judge our entire relationship based on scheduling conflict." "It wasn't a scheduling conflict," I corrected. "It was a demonstration of your true priorities. When I needed family support during a medical emergency, you chose career networking over providing care and comfort to someone who was having a heart attack. And it wasn't one isolated incident," I continued. "It was the culmination of 11 months of treating me like a financial resource rather than understanding that family relationships should be based on mutual care and support without expectation of monetary reward." Michael's response revealed the extent to which they had been counting on my inheritance for their financial planning. "Mom, you can't just remove us from your will because of one misunderstanding," he said with increasing desperation. "We've built our entire future planning around the expectation that we would inherit your assets." "That was your mistake," I replied. "Inheritance is not an entitlement based on family relationships. It's a gift that must be earned through demonstrated character and genuine care during times of vulnerability." "But we love you," Jennifer pleaded. "We've been trying to build a close family relationship and support you during your retirement." "Jennifer, love isn't demonstrated through financial pressure, manipulation, and abandonment during medical emergencies," I said calmly. "Love is demonstrated through prioritizing someone's well-being over your own convenience and providing support, without conditions or expectations of financial reward." The conversation continued for over an hour, with Michael and Jennifer alternating between denial, anger, bargaining, and desperation, as they realized the full extent of what their hospital abandonment had cost them. "Mom, please reconsider these changes," Michael begged. "We're willing to acknowledge our mistakes and do better going forward." "The time for doing better was during my heart attack," I replied. "You had 11 months to demonstrate genuine care and family loyalty. Instead, you demonstrated exploitation, manipulation, and abandonment when I actually needed support." "But Eleanor, changing your will so drastically seems like an overreaction," Jennifer argued. "Surely we can work out some kind of compromise that recognizes both our mistakes and our genuine efforts to build family relationships." "There is no compromise," I said firmly. "You've shown me who you really are when someone you claim to love needs support during a medical crisis. My estate planning now reflects that reality." Over the following weeks, Michael and Jennifer made numerous attempts to convince me to reverse my estate planning changes, using every manipulation tactic they had employed during my retirement period. They tried guilt. "Mom, we're your only family. Who else are you going to leave your assets to?" They tried bargaining. "What if we provide better support going forward? Can we earn back our inheritance status?" They tried emotional manipulation. "You're punishing us for one mistake and destroying our dreams and future security." They tried financial pressure. "Without your inheritance, we can't afford the house we want or the family life we've planned." But I had learned through my heart attack experience that manipulation tactics only work when the target feels vulnerable, dependent, or guilty. I no longer felt any of those things. My cardiac treatment had been successful with excellent prognosis for full recovery. I was no longer dependent on their conditional support or attention, and I felt no guilt about protecting my assets from people who had proven they would exploit my medical vulnerability for personal gain. "My estate planning decisions are final," I told them during our last conversation about inheritance changes. They reflect the reality of your character and priorities as demonstrated during my medical emergency. 6 months after the hospital abandonment, Michael and Jennifer's attempts to maintain contact gradually decreased as they realized that my estate planning changes were permanent and that I was no longer a source of financial support or inheritance. Expectations. My heart attack recovery was successful, with no lasting cardiac damage and excellent prognosis for continued health and independence. But more importantly, the medical emergency had provided invaluable education about family relationships and the difference between genuine care and exploitative manipulation. The American Heart Association, St. Mary's Hospital Foundation, and Denver Family Emergency Support Services were informed that they would be receiving substantial estate benefits that would fund cardiac research, emergency family assistance programs, and medical support services for years to come. My new will ensures that my wealth will benefit organizations that provide genuine support to people during medical crises without conditions, abandonment, or expectations of financial reward in return. Today, at 74 years old, I am healthy, independent, and surrounded by friends and charitable organizations that provide genuine care and support without expecting inheritance benefits in return. My estate planning reflects my values and priorities rather than the manipulative demands of family members who proved they couldn't be trusted during my most vulnerable moment. The business dinner that seemed more important than supporting me during a heart attack proved to be the most expensive meal of Michael and Jennifer's lives. Their decision to prioritize career networking over family medical support cost them more money than most people earn in a lifetime. Sometimes the coldest abandonment leads to the warmest appreciation for organizations that provide real care without conditions. If you're watching this story and recognizing similar patterns in your own family relationships, I want you to know that you have more power than you might realize. Medical vulnerability doesn't mean you have to accept exploitation, abandonment, or conditional support from family members who view your crisis as an inconvenience to their personal goals. You have the right to expect genuine care without financial obligations or expectations. You have the right to modify estate planning and inheritance arrangements based on how family members actually treat you during medical emergencies. You have the right to redirect your assets toward people and organizations that provide real support without abandonment or exploitation. And you have the right to hold family members accountable for their treatment of you during medical crises, including through financial consequences that reflect the cost of their betrayal. Trust me when I tell you that sometimes the most loving thing you can do is allow people to experience the financial consequences of abandoning family members during medical emergencies. The estate planning changes I made that February evening weren't punishment. They were education about the cost of prioritizing business dinners over family medical support. What would you have done if your family abandoned you during a heart attack for a business dinner? Have you ever been exploited by family members who expected inheritance benefits for conditional medical support? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and let me know if this story has inspired you to examine your own estate planning and inheritance arrangements. And if you found this story of reclaiming power and demanding genuine care during medical vulnerability resonating with you, make sure to like this video and subscribe for more stories of people who chose themselves when others wouldn't choose them. Sometimes the coldest hospital abandonment can lead to the warmest appreciation for organizations that actually care about people during medical emergencies, and the most expensive education about the cost of exploiting someone's medical vulnerability for career advancement. Up next, you've got 2 more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hit the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any upload from us.